Hi everybody. A little bit of a different video this week. I want to talk a little bit about my journey and how I started and built my own law practice and how you can do it too. I started with 6 files under my arm. 3 of them were cases I didn't think were ever going to pay. They were court appointments. And the other 3 were relatives of mine. So not sure how any of that was going to work. So originally I started working for a law firm, and there were some excellent trial attorneys in there, and they were also very good business people. So I learned quite a bit about the practice of law and how it worked. But after a while, started to notice, given the amount of fees that I was generating, and believe me, I kept a record of what was coming through the door, I looked at my paycheck, I looked over at my computer screen, like, well, geez, I could do all this on my own and keep all the money, and I think I'd be better off. So that's kind of started me thinking. I was also in a role that my wife jokingly called the Frank Reich of my law firm. For those of you that are not familiar with Frank Reich, as other than the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, he was the backup quarterback for the Buffalo Bills during their Super Bowl years. He had several memorable occasions as the starter, including a very famous one where he led a comeback in a playoff game from 35-3 down to a 41-38 overtime win against the Houston Oilers. And I felt I was ready to be the starter, to have my own team. And then the final straw was Christmas one year. I got a very small Christmas bonus check. And I went to the bank to deposit it, actually to cash it. It wasn't even that much money. And the teller said, geez, I'm sorry, but this is post-dated. You know, you can't cash it for another 2 days. So that post-dated Christmas bonus check was all the shove I needed out the door. 3 months later, I left. I walked out of there with basically whatever I could carry in terms of my computer and a few files, and started from there. Now, I got very lucky in that I found an office space where there were about 15 attorneys who all did different things. So I had a great referral base there that I was able to build. And I also had people I could ask questions about and bounce cases off, and we all did that from time to time. So if you can put yourself in that situation, but that's kind of the first thing. If you're going to start out, have an office. Have a place that you can go to, especially if you still have to do things on Zoom or Google Meet. You don't want the dogs barking in the background. You don't want the leaf blower next door disturbing your meeting. Also, clients take you more seriously. When I started out, before I got that job, I had to hustle, and I was getting cases assigned from the court. And I had a small criminal case that was assigned to me. And I set up the meeting with the client at a local library because I didn't have an office, I didn't have a conference room, I didn't know anybody. And believe you me, the client gave me an earful about what kind of pathetic lawyer I am that I have to meet this person at the library. Don't you have an office? Why can't we meet there? What kind of lawyer doesn't have an office? So yeah, have a cell phone, an office, and a business card. Because the other thing is that you don't want to be caught flat-footed, and you always want to say you're an attorney. If you're at a party, you're out with friends, whatever it is, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a lawyer. What kind of law do you practice? Always answer that question. What kind of problem do you have? Because if I don't have the answer, then somebody that you know. And you can build that network through attorneys that you know. Being at the courthouse and just talking and being around. And I had a politician friend tell me, besides, that gave me that rule. And he kind of put it this way. If they make if they make eye contact with you, smile. If they smile back, then you go in, shake the hand, introduce yourself, all of that. So don't be afraid to introduce yourself. Get to know lawyers in other professions, be involved in your local bar association, and just simply getting out there. Or your law school classmates who are local and maybe at other firms and are going to be happy to give you business. So build that network. When it came to clients and doing this in the early aughts, I started my firm in 2003. What I did was I really relied on word of mouth. I just simply did not have the budget that I could slap up a bunch of billboards, TV ads, radio ads. There's just no level of expenditure that you're going to really be able to compete with some of these firms, and you're going to cast too wide a net. If you're a solo, you do not want to have a huge advertising budget on television and then have to spend half your day sifting through phone calls to find a few cases of work that you want to do. So the internet's become a great equalizer. We'll get to that a little later. But at this point, it was about working my files, being available for the clients, returning those calls, returning those emails, having that professional look. And it's very cheap, even back then, to make sure that you have your name, law offices as a domain name. You can buy a domain name for next to nothing. So buying Jeff Marion Law and using it for a web-based email address just looks a little more professional than a Gmail or an iCloud account or a Yahoo account. It just has that look. It looks better on your card. Also, having that separate, having cell phone availability. Again, you can set boundaries. If a client calls, and I had a client call me recently on a Sunday afternoon with a very non-important legal issue, I set the boundary. I said, look, this is a call that could have kept until tomorrow during business hours. If you have an emergency, by all means, call me. If you're in jail, if you're headed to the emergency room because you're bleeding out, by all means, call me. But for this kind of thing that you got some letter and you don't understand something, that's a thing that can wait until Monday. So don't be afraid to set those boundaries. Do it firmly, but do be nice and always, take care of your clients. Whatever they do, return the calls. Even if you don't do anything on their case for a few months, send them a letter saying, we haven't taken any action in the last 90 days. This is normal and you shouldn't be concerned. And that you'll contact them when you have meaningful information. So it's doing all of those little things. And that's what built up for me. That's what built the base. And then one day I did get that phone call. I got that call from a family member of someone that I had played Sunday League soccer with and hadn't been on the team in probably 6-7 years. But I got the call that a loved one of theirs had been horribly injured by an unsafe aerial lift, and I caught that case, and that case settled for a very large amount. And then you're able to build from there. But it was all of that shoe leather, elbow grease, being available, letting people know you're a lawyer, putting your reputation on the line by being responsive and being available to your clients that will help you. And that's in any line of work. If you're not an attorney and you're watching this video, whatever it is that you do, be responsive. Have that lifeblood of your business be the phone or your email account. Things have evolved and you got to go down different paths. From the personal injury path, I started to get interested in handling veterans cases, and I handled a lot of VA disability cases. I became the co-chair of the Bar Association's Committee on Veterans and Service Members Issues. And that led to calls from media outlets if they had a question. It leads to other lawyers calling you with their questions and possibly referring you cases. But that's how you build that network. If you got to start from nothing like I did, that's the way to do it. Now, fortunately, there's a great equalizer in all of this. And that great equalizer is the current internet. You're going to find that law firms, especially larger firms, they still rely on television. They still rely on billboards, radio ads. They'll even still advertise in the phone book. If you do actually get your phone book, before you throw it in the recycle bin, take a look at it. You're still going to see lawyer ads. But who uses the phone book? Probably everybody's phone book still ends up in the recycling. So that's the great equalizer. And think about it this way. I can think about watching TV at home, and my wife, whatever's on, now usually we're streaming something so there's no ads to begin with, or we're watching something on DVR so we're fast forwarding through the commercials. But she's sitting there with her face in her phone, and she's looking at Facebook, she's looking at Pinterest, she's looking at Instagram. And that's advertising. There's tons of advertising on those sites. And you can learn how to target the people that you want. You can set up your own content. You can do it on a platform like YouTube or Facebook Live with simply a camera, a tripod, a microphone, and off you go, just like this. And people are going to see it. You're going to draw eyeballs. So you've got that great equalizer. If you can master the targeting, if you can master YouTube's algorithm, YouTube can get that base and advertise for virtually nothing. And in some cases, it's only a few $100s a week to advertise to all the people that you want. And if you're going to go down that route, I would tell you to write down a character. Think about what your ideal client is, who he or she is, and write out a little character thing. You know, what's his or her name? What do they do for a living? You know, married? Do they have children? What activities do they do in the community? What are their hobbies? So that you can get that idea of who it is that you want to attract to your message and to your office. The one thing I can tell you about being a solo practitioner is, yes, it's hard. It's a lot of work. It's not a steady income. But it's so rewarding. It's yours, and you've worked hard for it. If you're willing to put the elbow grease in, if you can do the work, if you can put the time in, if you can be prepared for court, if you can get your message out there, however you do that, it can be done. You're not at the same disadvantage that you used to be. Yes, there's tons of lawyers in every community, but there's always room for another good lawyer. And if you can get good at what you do, you can get good at your client services, you can do this. So generally speaking, this channel is about educating people on personal injury. I will put up hot topics like this video here, and I'll also try to generally educate people on personal injury law with this video up here as an example. So what you can do is, if you like this channel, and occasionally I'll talk about my journey. So if you like this video, comment below. Tell me your story if you're an attorney, or tell me if you had an experience with an attorney about that, whether that was positive or negative. Share your comments below. Click on that subscribe button because I do videos every week. You can hit the bell to make sure that you get updates on when there's new videos released. So subscribe to this channel. If you like this video or you have a similar experience, share it with the people in your social media network. New videos come out every week. We'll always have something for you to educate you on personal injury law and other hot topics that you might be reading about in the news or hearing in the news. So check all of that out, and we're going to see you in the next video.